let's learn that. You can start out at home in your living room in your socks. Try a couple of 360s as I show you now. And then once you've done that, you know, get your ski boots on to make it a little bit more difficult. It's much more like doing it on skis, which we should also try. Oh, they're cold now. Ah, this one is difficult. First things first, when you do a 360, you want to, you know, sink down a little bit in the ski boots, but yet have an upright, strong position like this, just like when doing any other jump. There's a couple of ways you can spin. You know, you can just sort of in a nice relaxed fashion set it off. You can start as a T with no wind up, just try to do it, and with a T and a bit of wind up. First things first, when you spin, it's important that you keep your eyes rather high so they follow the horizon. If you manage to do a spin, keep looking around yourself all the way around. That's key to stay straight when you're doing this, so you don't tip backwards or sideways or something like that. Of course, it's also important that you get the top right. So we start something like this, same strong position. You can wind up a little bit by twisting from this foot up through the hip, and then upper body too. And then you're bent down, and as you pop, you unwind. And ideally you want to be almost perfectly straight when you take off. That is ideal, but it's okay to spin a little bit with the upper body. People do that all the time. The most important part is that you don't start spinning the feet / skis. When you do this, you want it to be flat, or ideally you do it facing uphill, but that angle doesn't look as good. So right now we're still doing it with pretty much straight arms, down, wind up. And when you're doing this, make sure to practice spinning both ways. You'll benefit a lot from that later on. And then to speed it up even further, when you're at this position and you pop up in the air, you pull in your arms. You're going to spin even faster. That was gnarly.
Can you do a 5?
Oh, 5 in ski boots. Got it. You should be facing this way of the trampoline or that way. But I'll show you this way because it was the best camera angle. Many people do the mistake that they jump far too high the first couple of 360s they do. So I want you to just jump something like this, very low. And the first couple of times you can try with a T set, so arms straight out. And then just I know this doesn't look natural, but we practice with a T set because it's easy to get the balance right. So you land with no wind up, but yet you push up from the knees, hips and shoulders to set off that rotation. Make sure that you don't start twisting the feet too early. Then the arms and eyes should like follow the horizon around, and this is what makes you spin really straight. They can maintain good balance. Once you're starting to feel comfortable doing that, you can jump a little higher. Once you get the good balance, you can start doing it more relaxed. You can also try pulling your legs up, so it's easy to grab later on when you feel comfortable. Now when you do it more relaxed, you can land with a bit of wind up. Even if I keep my hands not very high here, it's important that the hands are always at about the same height, and that you don't like swing them up over your shoulder, because that will create that cork 3. And then you can pull your knees up a little bit, and the arms should be at about the same height. Make sure that they swing on the same plane, that you don't go from down here to up there. That's gonna make you cork and land really back seated. So rotating a 360 is easy on a trampoline, but what is hard is to not cork it. But if you want to practice the spinning technique itself, try some 540s, maybe 720s to challenge your spinning technique. Alright, the cool thing when you have the skis on is that you can see how the skis edges like this. Because if we want to spin to the left now, I would wind up a little bit this way. So go down, twist the knee in a little bit and hip too, so you get a bit of wind up. And then as you extend your legs, you release the wind up there. And then try to get that timing right. That you, when you're facing straight forwards, that's when you pull in your arms. So from that edge out, and then as you push up, you push more from that edge. Yeah. 180 was fine. 340. Ciao, grazie. You want to stand slightly wider than hip wide, but not too wide, because if you're too wide, that's going to slow you down instead of giving you this extra grip that's really nice to have. But
there we go.
That's a 3.
That was nice.
Woo.
Can you do it to the right?
A little bit back-seated, but if you can do good 180s and you feel ready to try some 270s and soon 360s, find a side hit where you can do a 270 but yet land forwards, a bit like a hip. As with 180, approach with a strong posture and the arms wounded up. And then at the end of the jump you have a strong pop where you bring that hip forwards and try to keep those eyes up and high. And if you've done all the pre-exercises, it's going to be easy for you to do a full 360 of a straight side hit like this one. So finally, let's look into how to do some 360s of a small park jump. It is important that the jump is small enough that you feel comfortable jumping it and doing like 180s. A jump that looks like this, that allows you to still land downhill straight after the jump, is really nice to get started with, but if it looks like this, that's a bit too big to get started, so you can do a 360 and try to land on the plateau. The normal set 360s are great because they look normal, you can spin fast, and they're good to learn your first 360s. But it's easy that you swing your arms up too much, creating an accidental cork. So I think you should start trying the normal set 3s of the side hits and your first couple of attempts. But if you have a problem getting the balance right, that you land back seated and think you can complete a full 3 with a T set, please try it, because you'll get a more controlled set as you jump bigger. But unfortunately it looks a little silly and you'll spin not so fast. Most details about how you do the normal set 3 and T sets are the same. You in both cases can wind up from the outside foot using the knees, hips and shoulders. And at the takeoff in both cases you should take off straight with your skis, don't twist your shoulders too much, and also here try to keep both hands level. So you try to look up in the beginning and follow the horizon. Also when I'm looking, I always look a little bit in the direction of where I'm spinning, but don't exaggerate this. So the T set, now the first couple times you do with a wind up. Use them edges, knees and hips to set off a rotation. And it's important here as well that you time the pop till the end of the jump. And you can also look in the direction of your spinning. So you see this is pretty much the same as the normal set 360s. However, this one is easier to get the balance right and bring that hip forwards so that you land nicely perpendicular in relationship to the landing. And you have to adapt how quickly you are spinning, which you do in the set mainly, but at this point you can see the landing and decide if you need to pull your arms in or extend your arms and legs to slow it down. Once you've done several T-sets with a wind up, also try the T-set without any wind up at all. It's just this like 45 to 90 degree twist at the end that will generate the whole spin. This is great because it's even harder to mess up. There's almost as many common mistakes to doing 360s as there are skiers. This guy is hanging off the back of the ski boot. This is not good. Despite that, he managed to have a pretty decent pop. But it's definitely not good enough and it's looking down, causing him to tip backwards. This could have been fixed if he pulled in his legs hard. Maybe he could have uncorked it, because it was pretty good. So next time, lean more forward so you feel the front of the ski boot. And at the end of the jump, pop fully and bring that hip forwards. And you're gonna have a much better time where you'll start tipping forwards and hit that landing perfectly. As I mentioned, he could have saved it by pulling the feet in. Here's a friend just doing a carved 3, so he's clearly tilting upwards, but he has his leg pulled in, so he like uncorks the 360. But this is incredibly difficult to learn in the beginning, and it's easier to do with a carve. Freak out and counter rotate the 360 is also common. So at this point he should have pulled his arms into his body. This would have speeded up his rotation much more than that counter rotation did. If you have this problem, maybe do a couple of 360s in your ski boots again. He doesn't pop fully. See, he's even on the tails, and he's looking down towards the ground in the takeoff. Not good. After working on this a little bit, he was lifting his eyes and almost popping fully. So you see, that's a much better 360. And here he pops really good, but then looks down again. This is quite a typical learning process, how you fix one mistake and replace it with another, and it goes a little bit back and forth. That's why I'm showing you this, because it's frustrating to learn this in the beginning. But work well with these eyes, have them focus forwards where you look around the horizon all the way. Super important, and as you get better you can start looking down. That is fine, but for now, look around. You see, this hip movement is incredibly important, and if you look at yourself in a video, if you lift your tails up early, that's a sign that you were probably doing it quite right.
Before you head off, we have a little competition going for you who want to learn 360s. Post a video of yourself learning it or trying to learn it. The important part is that you're learning something. On Instagram with hashtag I stomped it, and follow Smartwool Europe, and you have a chance of winning a sweet mid layer in merino like this one, and socks. If you enjoy this in-depth style of tutorial, I made about 2-3 hours more of this kind of content over at the website. There are beginner and intermediate online courses. Tack så mycket, och vi ses nästa gång. Hej då! Oh, it's so cool, it's sunny.
Yeah, we've got to try and nail the sunglasses one.